Hi there, welcome to day one. I'm really happy to have you here in the 48-hour Manifest Reset. If you're here, then that means that you know that you have the power to change your life. You have the power to live the kind of life that you want to live, but you may have had some struggles in the past or currently, and you just want to manifest something. You want to manifest something. You want to attract something different than the life that you're currently living. So again, my name is Disha Rosetta. I'll be looking over to the side because I do have my trusty notes here to make sure I give you guys all the information, that I don't miss anything. But a little bit about me. I've always known that I was a manifester. I didn't always call it manifesting. I just knew that I just knew that I felt powerful, and that was like as a child. I knew that if I thought about something or if I visualized it or daydreamed it, at some point I would have it. So, kind of living in a fantasy land was worked for me, until adulthood, and I had to switch that off. Well, kind of, sort of. We'll see, because I do kind of live in a fantasy land at times, or some people may say that. So, but one of the things that really catapulted me into harnessing in what manifesting is and the law of attraction was when I turned 30. I'm currently 42. I turned 30 and I just felt like life was just not the way that I wanted it to be. Things were good. I had a great job. I had a great place to live. I had friends. I had my family close by. I was dating. And I may have even had a boyfriend at the time, or our partner at the time. But I felt something deep within me that just did not feel like enough, did not feel like I was being fulfilled. And so I left the city where I was, which was Charlotte, and I moved to Atlanta on a self-discovery journey, which, was not very far, but I knew and felt that I needed to leave the comfort zone of what I was familiar with. And I was very familiar after living there for, I think at that point, 7 or 8 years. So I moved and I was forced to create. I was forced to look at myself and the way that I wanted to live my life from a different perspective, and try to decide and figure out what it was that I wanted. And I started manifesting. And the things that I would manifest would be like parking spaces. That was how I started. And I saw that somewhere. It was like, just see your, just say out loud where you want to park the next time you go someplace. So it's not always about having a close parking space. Sometimes it's about being strategic with your parking space. So I started doing this, and I would go to the grocery store and say, I want to be on the left side, and I want to be, maybe the third or fourth space, so that I can be close to getting a buggy out, so that when I go into the store, I've got my buggy, and then when I come out of the store, there's a place right there for me to put the buggy when I'm done. So, and it happened, and it was kind of like I felt like magic, and I was like, ooh, what is this? And then I kind of put it aside for a while, and I started doing some spiritual journeys and investigating and just really diving into what makes life work the way that it does, if you will. And I came upon different spiritual centers and metaphysics, and really learned a lot. But the number one thing, and this comes back to the whole reason for day one video, but the number one thing that all of these different resources kept saying and kept coming back to is that in order to manifest something different in your life, in order to attract something different in your life, you have to change your vibration. You have to change your frequency, or you have to change something about where your current state is. And I was like, okay, well, what does that even mean? Vibration, frequency, that sounds like science term, sounds like, things like it's like that's a dial. Okay, but that doesn't, how does that relate to me? And that sounds like something, that relates to, the radio, right? So what I had to kind of go back into is is getting to a point, like a frequency or a vibration. If you are at the right vibration, if you're at the right frequency, then you can get what it is that you want to manifest. So then I kind of had to peel that back, and peeling the layer of that information back, or the layers of that information back, and being open and receptive to being led to where to go next is what led me to this understanding. And this is what really hampers a lot of people in their manifesting, in their law of attraction. It's where a lot of people get caught up, and it's not really something that is explained, because, you know, as I've said, raise your vibration, raise your frequency. These are all probably things that you've heard, right? These are all probably things that you've tried to do, may or may not have known exactly how to do that or how to go about it, but there are terms and things that you're familiar with. So what I had to realize, or what I should say, what I came to realize, is that at the root of it, manifesting and law of attraction only work within your belief system. So I'll say that again. Law of attraction and manifestations only work within your belief system. So now that may be like, well, what does that even mean, right? So what that means is that if you don't believe that you can be a millionaire, then putting out there that you want to make $1 million isn't something that is really viable. It's almost like it's like a fluff statement. It's like fantasy, right? Now, there are different levels. There are levels to fantasy. So let me retract that statement. So when you make that fluff kind of statement in a state where you don't believe that you can receive it, it's like it nullifies it. You say it, but there's no real action for the universe to take on it, or there's no real action for a higher power wherever you fall in that, but there's no real place for that attraction to occur because you don't really believe it. So now making that statement can sound kind of simple, right? But what are your belief systems? That's what it comes down to unpacking. If you believe that it takes, let's say, here's one. If you believe that you have to work a 40-hour work week in order to get a paycheck, if that's what you've been taught, if that's what your norm is, if that's all you know, and you're not really in a space to see something different, and you're making, maybe $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year in that 9-to-5 job, making working 40 hours a week, and then you're trying to manifest $1 million. It's very out of balance, because your belief system is in a space where you only believe in working a 9-to-5 40-hour work week. You don't believe in having a side job or a side hustle. Your belief system is in working that 9-to-5 job. Now that may be something that may not resonate with people, or it may not completely click. But the idea is we all have belief systems that guide and shape our reality, our perception of life, which becomes our reality, and how we walk and how we live and operate. Using myself as an example, at the time of this video, I'm currently living in Vietnam during a pandemic. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, originally in the United States. I always dreamed about traveling. I always saw myself living somewhere else, but I didn't know how to go about it. But it was always something that I believed was a part of how my life would be. There were times when I did travel writing, and I didn't even visit the places. Sometimes I did, but sometimes it was just doing the research and creating the articles, which is a tip. A lot of these travel writers don't actually visit the places, they just do research. But I digress. But the idea here is that I am now embodying the idea that I had when I was younger, which became a part of my belief system. Talking again, using myself as an example with belief systems, I was brought up, kind of in the idea of, you get a job and you get a good job, and then you work until you retire, right? That was kind of the way that my parents' generation did things. But when I was growing up, that did not resonate with me. That was not my belief system. I always thought that there would be another way, a different way. I didn't know what that way was going to be, but in my belief system, I didn't believe that like my mother believed it, or like her mother, or that I just didn't believe that. And as a result, I was then put in situations and positions where I was able to see even more and beyond that. One of my first jobs, or not first jobs, because I had many jobs in high school, but one of the jobs I had in high school was I sold cell phones and pagers, and I made an hourly wage plus commission. And the idea of making an hourly wage plus commission when I was a teenager, and this is back in the 1990s, it was like, oh, commission. So you work a little harder, you sell, you understand things, then you can make extra. And it's not just about time in exchange for money. And so that became another part of my belief system, is understanding that, okay, maybe I'll take a smaller salary if I do a job that has commission. Whereas someone else that didn't have that belief system, wasn't introduced to that, wasn't even able to allow themselves to think in that way, may shy away from commission. Now, I will say this as well. I did not follow that all the way through, because when I went to college, I had the opportunity to work for Sean John clothing line when I graduated college in 1999, and Sean John was literally just coming out then, and I had an opportunity to work and open a market. And I did not take it because it was commission only, and I had that now if I had that to do over, well, that's a whole nother story. But I understood, but again, that goes to show about belief systems, right? Because I understood commission, but I wasn't in a space, or in a headspace, or in a belief system space, a state of mind to go to the place of saying, okay, commission only, or of doing, being in a commission only role like that, and then getting like a second job, part-time, that paid my bills or something like that. I was still in the belief system of, you get a job after you graduate college that you can pay your bills. So hopefully you're seeing, just with those examples, how belief systems can shape how you show up and the things that you manifest, and why sometimes it's easier for you to manifest certain things than other things. So I have some notes here, just that I wrote down about manifesting. So manifesting is based on your belief systems. If you want to see what you believe about your life, what you believe you deserve or desire, or where your desires should be, if you will, or what you think you can have, that's your frequency. Your belief system is your frequency and your vibration. That's what it means when people are saying you have to raise your vibration, you have to raise your frequency. You have to increase your belief system. And it's not so much a belief system of believing in God or Allah or Buddha or Krishna or any entity or being or anything like that. It's the belief system of yourself. It's how you see yourself. What do you believe you can achieve? Now, the belief system that you're walking around with right now more than likely comes from childhood, more than likely comes from things that that were taught to you from your parents or your caregivers or lack thereof, and also from the environment, whether it be school or friends. But that is how you're showing up. That's your belief system. That's your perception, which becomes your reality, which shapes how you are manifesting and shapes how you are attracting things to you. So it's that's what people mean when they say you've got to raise your vibration, you've got to raise your frequency. Paring that down, you've got to raise your belief system. Going deeper than that, you've got to be aware of what you believe in and what you don't believe in, and how that's rooted in what you're asking for. If you're asking for something that you don't essentially really believe you can have, it's something you want, but it's not something you essentially believe deep within you that you can have, you've got to unpack that and you've got to work through why that is. Now, you don't have to spend years doing it. You can just, it can be as simple a thing as acknowledging it and realizing it's like, oh, I haven't gotten this because I don't think I can have it, right? So for like one of the examples that I used, the Sean John commission only, my whole thing was that belief system, the belief system that I would have needed to shift in that situation was that I need one job in order to pay, my bills when I graduate college, because you go to college and you get a job. That was the belief system that I had. And the job was supposed to have a salary and you're supposed to be taken care of. Again, that was the belief system I had. Even though I was aware of commission, I wasn't in the system of belief that I could sustain myself with commission only. So I would have needed to shift and look at, why do I feel the need that I have to trade my hours of work for pay versus my effort for pay, which is what commission essentially turns into. So it's really, again, imperative to look at your belief systems, to look at things that maybe habits at this point, in life, but habits that may not be serving you. Things that may cause you to have a visceral kind of gut reaction within yourself when it comes into your presence. Those could be hints at your belief systems that are causing you not to be able to consistently manifest or have consistent positive results with your law of attraction efforts as well. Okay, so now there's another thing that's really important to look at and be aware of in regards to why your manifesting may not be working for you, or why your law of attraction efforts may not be working for you consistently. And it's in the two things that I just said, manifestations, and law of attraction. Now, they are two terms that are used interchangeably a lot of times, and essentially, foundationally, they are the same. However, they are two distinct, separate systems. And I say separate systems because the approach that you use will be different depending on which way you go, and the approach that you use is based on your belief system. So if you are someone that considers themselves to just be kind of like anti-religion, anti-spirituality, you really have more of a scientific way about you. You don't, you don't want to talk about God, you don't want to talk about source, you don't want to talk about any of that, then you would fall in line with using the principles with the law of attraction. And the reason why that is because the law of attraction uses more of a scientific method approach, if you will. I am not saying that it does use a scientific method. I'm saying it uses more of a scientific type of method than manifesting. Now, when we say manifesting, we are using a method that speaks to your belief in a higher power. And whatever that higher power is, it doesn't matter. It does not matter who or what entity it is that you consider your higher power. But the thing is that your belief system is that you have a higher power. And again, for those that do not have a belief system and a higher power, there's the law of attraction. So the way that people sometimes get kind of caught up, if you will, is they're combining the two systems together, and they are interchanging like terms and processes between the two. And while they're both rooted in foundationally the same, because they bring the same results, it's important to kind of pick a lane and you can change the lane, but use a signal when you decide to change the lane. Just don't go all haphazardly, if you will, which is what a lot of people often do is when using both law of attraction and manifesting together. It's kind of that haphazard lane change. It's like, well, maybe I need to try this and do it this way. So understanding that there are two distinct ways to make this work for you. It doesn't matter which way you choose, but the way that you choose really is dependent on your belief system. So if you have a belief system that is based in the belief of a higher power, then you want to go with what traditional manifestation, okay? If you have the belief system of not believing in a higher power, then you want to go with law of attraction. And I will go over, how to manifest in each way, depending on what your belief system is. But again, that's why I started off with the importance of your belief system, because this is a personal relationship you're having with yourself, if you will, right? You're manifesting something, you're creating something, you're creating what you want to experience. So if you aren't really intimately aware with your belief systems, if you aren't intimately aware with the space that your perceptions are creating your reality, then you won't be able to create the next iteration of the reality that you truly want to have. You'll just keep creating things kind of haphazardly, or creating things here or there, or not creating at all. So again, that's why it's important to first off know your belief systems, be aware of your belief systems, and start manifesting from that space, and then you will be able to raise your frequency, your vibration, and your belief systems, so that you will believe that you can receive more, and then be able to set that up with your manifesting and law of attraction efforts. Knowing that belief system, knowing kind of where you stand with your higher power, that belief system and a higher power will help you determine whether or not you're going to go with traditional manifesting or with law of attraction style of manifesting. Either way is fine. Either way works. I use them both depending on, and I will go into that later, but I will use one or the other depending on how I feel. And that comes from where my belief systems are and what I may have already manifested around this particular topic that I wanted to manifest in again. So I hope that yields some clarity. Again, this is why I do this in two separate days, if you will. Sometimes people want to replay this so that you can let it sink in some more, because I do speak a bit quickly sometimes because I get excited. So I apologize for that. I will work on, I will endeavor to be a bit slower going forward in my speech, because this is important information, but you do have access to it. And, you know, whether I spoke quickly or slowly, it would be good to listen or to watch again, just to let it sink in, because you may hear something different the second or third time that you hear it that I've said. And because I know that happens to me when I go through trainings as well. So just to recap, it's so important for you to be aware of your belief system. This is why the belief system is the vibration, it is the frequency, it is that thing that people say you need to raise and you need to be on the same level with, so that you can receive it. Another thing to add along with that is it's the idea that if you believe it, you can achieve it. So if you believe it, you can achieve it. It's you know, it's a cliche, it's corny, but it's actually true. And then the second part of that is, you know, once you understand, you know, the importance of your belief system and where you're at, not judging yourself, but understanding where you're at, using that to determine, okay, am I someone that believes in a higher power, or am I someone that does not believe in a higher power? If I do, I'm going to go with traditional manifesting. If I do not, I'm going to go with law of attraction. That will help you pick your lane, so that when you are manifesting, you are on the superhighway of manifestation. And if you decide to change lanes, and if you start off with traditional manifesting and you want to change to law of attraction, you put on your blinker and you change that lane, and you kind of start over versus veering over, you know, back and forth. So yeah, I hope that this has been helpful. Let it sink in. Let it sink in. Watch it again. Let it sink in. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks again. See ya.